YouTube, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. So today, guys, by the time I've uploaded this video, I think it's already Christmas. So yeah, Merry Christmas everybody who's actually watching this video. So we already tackled our Super Heavy Samurai Sports. Also, we already tackled the Transcendosaurus cards as well for the new Dino Sports. And the only thing lacking here for next month is the Nemleria archetype. Now, what is this archetype possibly be? Now, it's typically like a crossbreed for Madolche and Dream Mirrors. Regardless, we're gonna talk about the core deck list, then the Master Duel deck list that we will use, and a short showcase with the deck on how it works. So, without further ado, let's go into the core deck list for the Nemleria archetype. Alright, so here we are with the Nemleria deck, or the core deck list for the Nemleria archetype. So there's not that much. There's only like 2 trap cards that the whole archetype has, 2 spell cards as well, and 1 Pendulum Monster. I think this is the most important one that you need to resolve also. We have like 4 level 10 Beast Monsters. As far as I know, the Aurelier and a copy of Kuat are the easiest one to summon because it just needs like a face-up Pendulum Monster in your extra deck. First and foremost, let's talk about the level 10 monsters. So right off the bat, we have our first defender, which is the Aurelier. Now, typically, this can be spell summoned if you have a face-up Pendulum Monster on the field. It doesn't really matter if it is a Dreaming Nemleria, as long as it's a face-up Pendulum Monster. This card can garner 500 attack for each monster your opponent controls. So typically, if he has 5 monsters on his side of the field, then this card can garner 2,500 to its attack. Other than that, I think that's the only effect that this card does. Next up, we have the Reveal, which we can go in our 1 copy or 1 to 3 copies depending on how your build. I've seen some other builds for the Nemleria where they're running 3 copies of Reveal and then 2 or 3 copies of Love. The Love is a really good card once you've sent to the graveyard. It has a floating effect, but we'll talk about it in a bit. The Reveal, you can run with 1 copy of this. I prefer just running 1 copy of this in my own build. It's easy enough to summon to the field. Yeah, the thing about the Nemleria, they just banish extra deck monsters on your side. They don't really use the extra deck that much. But in our own build, we are gonna like use the extra deck as just a utility, of course. Or in some scenarios, we might just use the extra deck. But other than that, it's basically just fodders for the effect of the Nemleria monsters. Or some pot cards. But yeah, just 1 copy for this. The Kuat, on the other hand, is another level 10 Beast Monster that has the same effect of Aurelier that can be spell summoned to the field if you have a face-up Pendulum Monster in your extra deck. The thing about this, if your opponent targets a Nemleria card, this can banish 1 extra deck monster from your side and then negate its activation. By the way, the only 2 cards that locks you from using the extra deck are just the effects of, what was it again? The Reveal and a copy of your Dream Tower, which is, you're gonna spell, yeah, there you go. So those are the only 2 cards that locks you out from the extra deck. Other cards, you can just use their effects willy-nilly. But yeah, those are the level 10 monsters. Oh yeah, so last level 10 monsters, we have Realize. So like I said earlier, this is a Zephyros that bounces 1 card on the field back to the bottom of your deck. And once this card is spell summoned, you can either choose from one of the 2 effects, add 1 Dreaming Nemleria from your deck face up in your extra deck, or flip 1 face up card on the field face down. So I think that's basically all of the level 10 monsters that you have. So the Dreaming Nemleria, it has all the effects. Typically, this is your searcher, your enabler for your level 10s to be on the field, your board breaker as well once it is summoned to the field, and lastly, it can spin back cards from your banished zone that were face down and back to your deck so that they can be used by your own Nemleria monsters. Typically, you want to resolve this in the Pendulum Zone, and once it gets a copy of the Dream Tower on the field face up, this card, or the Dreaming Nemleria, will be face up in the extra deck once the continuous spell is going to be activated. And then, once you use the effect of the Dreaming Tower, you can search out the 2 level 10 Beast Monsters, whichever that you want. I prefer always just go for the Kuat and a copy of Aurelier. I'll showcase to you guys how to do that. And then basically just summon the 2 monsters on the field. If you have other follow-ups or other cards you can go just to protect those monsters, then why not go for it? The general gist for the whole deck is just to resolve the Dreaming Nemleria, because this is basically your bread and butter for the deck. Like I said, it is a board breaker, a searcher, an enabler for your level 10s. Not just the level 10s, also for your spell and traps. And lastly, a recycler for the banished cards that were face down. So the next one we'll have is the 2 spell cards and the 2 trap cards. First and foremost, we have the Sweet Dreams Nemleria. If you don't have the Dreaming Nemleria on your hand, basically you can just add it with the help of the Sweet Dreams Nemleria. Once this card is in the graveyard, you can place this card from your graveyard to the bottom of your deck, then target one Dreaming Nemleria you control and add it to the extra deck face up, just to spin back from the field to your extra deck. The next one we have is the Continuous Spells, or the Dream Tower for the Nemleria is basically just banish 2 extra deck monsters face down on your side and then add 2 level 10 beast monsters from your deck to your hand. So this is not typically just Nemleria monsters that are level 10s, but there are some other generic level 10 monsters that you can search on. Other than that, if your monster is going to be destroyed by a card effect or by battle, you can banish 1 face-down card from your extra deck. Your monster will be safe. So that's still insanely good as a protection. And then lastly, the 1-ofs for each of the trap card. The 1 copy of Love. You activate this card, you can spell summon 1 Nemleria monster or 1 level 10 beast monster from your hand or deck in defense position. Like I said, your main target for this is a copy of your Realize. Really good interruption as well. And lastly, the 1 copy of the Repeater. So typically, if you banish 1 extra deck monster, you add 1 Nemleria card from your graveyard to your hand. If you banish 2 extra deck monsters, any damage that you take during this turn will be halved. And lastly, if you banish 3 extra deck monsters, you send 1 level 10 beast monster you control to the graveyard, then basically it is a Dark Ruler no more. That only affects your opponent as well. So with regards to the number of copies, for the Dreaming Nemleria, always run 3 copies of this. Really important, the bread and butter for your deck. 3 copies of your Sweet Dreams Nemleria because this is one of your primary searches. For the copy of the Continuous Spell card, the Dream Tower, you can run with 2 to 3 copies of this on your deck. Depends on your build. But yeah, just go for 2 copies. It's still perfectly fine. It's easy enough to search. And lastly, for the spell and trap cards, just go for 1 copy of Love always, and then 0 to 1 copy of Repeater. So that is everything there for the Nemleria archetype. Let's go towards the deck list for Master Duel. Alright, so here we are with the deck list for Master Duel. Typically, we all have here the cards that banishes cards face down. So right off the bat, we also have Pot of Desires, which banishes 10 cards from the top of your deck. You have also Pot of Extravagance, Pot of Prosperity. The only downside for this is the pot cards in Master Duel are limited, or some of them are limited to 1, so it's really a bummer. Nevertheless, it's perfectly fine. Like I said earlier, the Aurelia is 2 copies, the 1 copy of Reveal, the 2 copies of the Coet. I am just running 1 copy of Realize here. It's still perfectly fine because I want to run 40 cards. And of course, I want to make room also with Call by the Grave in case we get Maxied. But Maxi is not really a major problem with the deck since you'll just be special summoning like two monsters in a turn with your Nemleria ones. So it's not really like a major issue. 1 copy of the Yearning Bureau as well, really good card. 2 copies of your Gizmic Orochi. You banish 8 cards from the top of your deck face down, a really good effect as well. And then 3 copies of your Kaiju if you're going second, really good card as well. I would like to run another monster that helps you garner more consistency, but so far I can't search any good cards as well. 1 copy of Pankratops, 2 copies of the Fenrir, 2 copies of the Shifter, 3 copies of Ash Blossom, 2 copies of the Grand Magi, the Aiza. This card is insanely good for this build since it tend to banish a ton of cards from your deck or from your extra deck. And of course, you can run 3 copies of Eater of Millions. I think this is one of the best cards that you can run with the deck. You know what? I think I'm just gonna remove a copy of the Prankatops and add a copy of Eater of Millions, because basically this will banish 5 or more cards from your hand, field, or extra deck face down. So you can just banish everything from your extra deck and everything from your hand or field. 3 copies of Eater of the Millions, or 2 or 3 copies. The 3 copies of the Dreaming Nemleria, really a strong card for the archetype. Like I said, the 2 Pot of Desires, 1 Extrav, 1 Prosperity, 3 Sweet Dreams, 2 Call by the Graves, 2 copies of the Dream Tower. You just need 2, 1 copy of the Love, and 1 copy of the Repeater. For the extra deck, there are some choices that you can go into. So 1 copy of the Cerberus, 1 copy of the Nightmare Monsters, the Phoenix, the Unicorn, and the Cerberus. The Donner is a really good choice as well. Nowadays, we are going up against Kashtira still. I'm not sure if they're going to be banned by the next month, so just be prepared. Kashtira Ariser is going to be like a major significant card for that one. and then you can go for Zeus later along the way. So that's good. There is also one card, where was it? The level 10 monster. There you go. Oh, no, not this one. The Ravenous Tarantula, 2 level 10s. You summon the Ravenous Tarantula, and then you summon the Pain Gainer, and then you summon the 7 Sins, and then the OTK package. So you summon the Orochi on your side, or a copy of Gamma Seal on your side. Still works perfectly well. Summon the Jaglubion into the copy of number 100 Numerian Dragon, and then go for game. And of course, some other cards that you might use: the Galaxy Eye Cipher X Dragon, the number 81, and the Rail Cannon Gustav Max. So I think that's basically it. The main deck and the extra deck. Also the core list for the Nemleria archetype. Let's go to the showcase for the deck. Alright, so let's go.
We started with Orieller, Dreaming Nemleria, Pot of Desires, Nibiru, and Called by the Grave. Opponent is using back row cards. Let's use Pancratops before we use Desires. Then let's use our Dreaming Nemleria. Activate the effective tower to search 2 level 10 monsters by banishing 2 extra deck monsters. Let's add the remaining level 10 that we have. Special summon the Orieller and the Coutis since we have a face-up pendulum monster in the extra deck. Summon the Reveal by banishing 3 extra deck monsters. We also used the effect of Orieller to slowly remove cards from the extra deck. Let's try to attack. Oh no, not bad. Oh no, this is bad. Oh great, we got Eater of Millions. Let's banish all of our extra deck monsters except for Dreaming Nemleria. Then let's summon Kaute to the field. Then let's summon Dreaming Nemleria from the extra deck. But we got negated. No worries. Okay, let's try this again. Finally successful. Let's use the effect. Dreaming Nemleria's effect. For every 3 of your face-down banished cards, you can banish up to 1 card from your opponent's field and/or graveyard. Face down. You can also retrieve back cards from your banished pile that were banished face down. How great is that? Let's use the effect of Realized and spin our Dreaming Nemleria to the deck. Use the effect of Realized since it was special summoned to the field and add Dreaming Nemleria to our extra deck. Battle. Yay! We win! If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video.